is what I believe. I think a lot of us are not deciding. We're tolerating. We're tolerating so many things in our lives because we can.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
You see, back in the day, I couldn't tolerate anything because I literally had to take care of 2 mouths that I loved dearly. I needed to feed them. So the problem is why you're in the relationships that are not serving you, because you're tolerating it. Why you have the income you do is because you're tolerating it. Because you're tolerating it in the fact that, and I'm going to be so blunt for just a minute, and Adam knows this is how I roll, but it's like, I have people literally come to me and be like, I have this dream and I feel it so much and I don't know how to like get it to go. And I'm like, how do you spend your day? And they're like, well, I go to this job. And I'm like, what do you drive? Well, I have a Range Rover. Okay. And how many times do you go out to eat a week? I go out with my girlfriends probably for coffee at least 3 times, or we'll go out. And I'm not saying that any of that's wrong, but my question to them is like, how bad have you decided that this dream is more important than your coffee dates, your Range Rover, your job, and then your social media time instead of working on your dream? The problem is so many people are just not deciding. And it's really simple to me, because then you're wrestling with your brain. Can you imagine if you wrestled with your brain on brushing your teeth every day? Like, no one would brush their teeth. But it's so ingrained in the fact that you just know that that's what you're going to do. You've already decided. That's who I am. I'm a person who brushes my teeth. This is the person I am. And so I really want to challenge everyone to decide and to look at where they're tolerating. And most likely you just don't want it bad enough. If something's not manifesting or showing up in your life, you just don't want it bad enough.
Yes. I love that you went there, and I'm just calling out all the people in that, because I feel like something that you and I, there's this thing that happens. Like, if people were to observe either of our days, if someone were to observe my days over the last month since launching this community, they would see multiple days of 10 back-to-back meetings, calls, boom, 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 with maybe an hour and a half of free space in between there where I eat, where I literally couldn't even, I'm not kidding, I couldn't even finish my meal. So I have another plate on top of it because I didn't have time to get it finished before this started. There is one thing that I learned being an athlete when I was younger, and I thought I was good. So I was on the Arizona national team as a wrestler, and I thought I was good. And then when I got older, I watched this documentary about a high school wrestling team where I observed them doing the wrestling matches, going home, doing their homework, and then they had a friend in the neighborhood who had wrestling mats in the basement that their dad set up, and they would go, and what they did for fun was spend all their time like wrestling. That was the thing. That was what they did for fun. And I realized I would never be able to beat them. When we went to the international, national dual match, I got my ass kicked by people from Wisconsin and New York. And the thing was, I thought I was good, but I didn't have a reference point for what greatness took. And when people think about, oh, Adam, like how do I do this thing? Exactly what you said. I get in conversations with people like you. And I would like to think, and maybe you can reflect back to me if this is true, I'd like to think that every time we've met, I've been inquisitive about like what you're doing and like, what are you doing? Maybe, is there a way for us to collaborate? Here's what I'm doing. And just constantly wanting to know what the people I respect and look up to, what they are doing, how they're doing it, what the books they're reading, and pouring into this sort of practice. Because I learned a long time ago that if you don't have a reference point for what greatness looks like, it's very difficult to know how far you can go. And so I love that you mentioned that specifically around, you don't want it bad enough. You don't want it bad enough. If it's not showing up into your life, you get to adjust your behavior to align yourself with what it actually takes. And it's not always fair. Life is not fair. So you may start from a place where you don't have the financial resources. You might start from a place where you are a single mother or a single father. You might start from a place where it is more difficult for you than it would be for someone else not in those circumstances, but it's never impossible.